So it is Monday, the 21st of November, and this is episode 26 of Part of My Journey. And today we've got a very special guest on. It is Mojaxx, all the way from Newcastle, I believe he is, staying out at the moment. And we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about musical influences. We're going to talk about DJ career. We're going to talk about DJ City. We're going to talk about beat source. We're going to talk about Twitch. We're going to talk about 45s, of course, very important because that's how me and him sort of connected initially. But without further ado, here he is. How you doing?
Hello. Hello. Hi. 1 second. I've just.
No worries.
Yeah. Sorry. The messages start coming in. Yeah. So I was trying to figure out if I went to go and look at the stream on Twitch, and of course I was going to host, and of course you can't host anymore. It's pointless. Hosting doesn't exist.
Well, it does in terms of auto hosting, but you have to have your suggested streamers, which is obviously however
Right.
many. That is the
So,
only
yeah.
way you can host. Or I think if you raid into a channel now, it's still
Yeah.
sort of host it. But
Oh, you're
yeah, for
hosting
some
it then. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
some
But you
reason,
can't just go and click host anymore, right?
no,
Yeah.
for some reason, Twitch decided to get rid of that. I don't know. Anyway, grooving DJs in the
I'll
house.
type
Good
Grooving
evening
DJ. We're locked
already.
in. One of my stalwart channel viewers and dope streamer himself. Big up Grooving DJ. What up?
Excellent. Big up. Nice to see you, grooving DJ. So it's great to have you on the show. You know, we have met in person a couple of times. I think the first time we met in person was at the Qbert gig where you'd managed to pick me up some of these brass adapters
Yes.
from Turkey.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that was a great
Mine right
gig.
here as well,
There you
actually,
go.
still as well. That was
There you
what
go.
was that? How long ago was that? What year was that? Must have been
I was
2000
trying to work it out. So that must have been, well, certainly before
16 maybe.
16, 17. That was
16,
down
17,
in
so yeah.
that was down in Brighton, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Ruben Pro's in the house. Double P, one of my mods, is in the house as well. Great to see it all. But yeah, and then obviously we'd sort of communicated a little bit. You did a 45-day raid event with me, and then we saw each other quite recently at Beat Geek in London, which was good fun. So we'll sort of jump in between all of those and see what happens. But yeah, I always like to take my guests right back to the beginning and find out about their musical influences. So music's a passion for all of us, but for you, in terms of music, was it friends, was it siblings, was it mum and dad, parents, brothers, sisters, uncles? Who was it who sort of first got you into this music lark?
I don't actually know. My parents were not that into music, like
Okay.
a reasonable amount, but nothing, nothing to write home about. But by the age of 2, I was already obsessed with music. At the age of 2, I had a
Right.
standing order with the local record shop in Chatteris in Cambridgeshire, where I grew up, for every Shakin' Stevens record that came out. They would
Right.
hold a copy for me. So yeah, just that was it. And I had my own record player, one of those all-in-one wooden things with like a radio and a. Do you remember the ones with the arm where you'd like stack up 7
Yeah, yeah.
records at the top and they drop down one after the other? I had one of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
when I was 2, an old
Amazing.
used one, and I had like Boney M records and ABBA records, and I loved Musical Youth, Past the Dutchie, Youth
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Today. They were like, 1981, so I was about 3 by then. And I just had this passion for music and records from the youngest age. Like, I loved it. And I genuinely don't know where it came from. Like, there's a tape of me as a toddler singing ABBA Super Trooper.
Right.
Like, I absolutely loved it, and I carried on loving it through my childhood. But then the next kind of pivotal moment for me was, I remember, and I had to go and grab this record before this show.
Yeah, yeah.
Was when I was watching, and what year was this? So this was 1988. So I would have been about 10 at this point. And I saw Derek B doing Bad Young Brother
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
on the Roland Rat Show. And I remember this very clearly. It was the Roland Rat Show. It wasn't like when Roland Rat was on like BBC Breakfast or ITV Breakfast. It was
Yeah.
actually the Roland Rat Show, maybe on like a Saturday afternoon or something like that.
I remember the Roland
And
Rat
as one of his guests, he had Derek B doing Bad Young Brother. And that was the first time I'd seen someone doing the decks, like with a pair of Technics. And like,
Yeah.
the thing that confuses me is, I think Derek B was a DJ, but he was also the rapper on Bad Young Brother. So I
Yeah.
think the other guy who was actually doing the DJing on that show must have been just some other random guy. It wasn't Derek B. The actual rapper was Derek B. But
Right.
Derek B was all anyway. So I looked at this again recently because I found this copy in my collection. I was like, damn, like that's because that still bangs today. UK rap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, yeah. Rest in peace, Derek B. Man, like that's a hard record. Still, that is a hard record. But that was the first time I'd seen the decks and seen someone doing DJ like that. And then within sort of so by the time I was 13, then I discovered, you know, dance music, you know, and like rave stuff, suburban bass records, and all that kind of
Oh,
stuff. And that's when I
classic,
got
yeah.
into actual DJing and started off doing school discos for my dad because he was a head teacher at a primary school. So I started off doing the school discos for his school. And
Fantastic.
then just I was a mobile DJ after that, and it all just rolled on basically. But it all comes back to fundamentally Derek B on the Ronan Rat show,
That is
which is a bit crazy.
Ronan Rat. I mean, he's one of those characters that is embedded in our childhoods.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. You know, Rat Face and all of that. But yeah, that's amazing though. You know, starting from Roland Rat to where you are now.
Yes,
You need to
Who
try
would
and
have
get
thought that journey?
If only I had a special guest that I could pull on now and bring Rat. If I'd have known this before, I could have tried to get Roland Rat on the show. That would have been.
I did have a copy of Rat Rapping because Ronan Rat did a record as well. Rat Rapping. I had that on 45. I think I've still got a copy somewhere
Nice one, nice
of
one.
that one.
And as Mr. Musto says, wicked label, Suburban Bass. Yeah, I was always a big fan of Suburban
Oh man,
Bass.
still mad love for Suburban Bass now. Like they're still putting stuff out. Like I keep
Yeah,
checking on
yeah.
their website. They keep putting out new things and like finding old DAT tapes and stuff, putting things out. Like it's incredible.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stuff
I
from
mean,
that
there must
label.
be so much stuff. I mean, they did quite a lot of re-releases for Record Store Days, well, didn't they? I think maybe a couple
Yeah.
of years ago, I think. So stuff like
Yeah,
that.
the clear vinyl and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So what age was that then when you were doing the discos at your
So I started
school?
at 13. That was
13.
when I started, and then from sort of 13 to 18, I was just a mobile DJ basically,
Yeah, yeah.
and doing like the parties for our sixth form at school and that kind of stuff as I got older. And so that was the first time I got in, not really promoting, but like putting on a party. You know,
Yeah.
it was the sixth form parties, the 2 years that I had at my high school, and we kind of put on those. We got barred from like every venue in Bognor Regis, which is where I lived then.
Right.
But literally every venue had barred us by the time I was taking over the running of it. But yeah, I had some really special moments. The weirdest part of those parties was that in West Sussex, in Chichester,
Yeah.
there was a record shop. I'm blanking on the name of it now. But there was a record shop that was owned by this guy called Eddie C, who at the time was a hardcore producer. He made hardcore records.
Right.
And he came and did a set for us because he was like a friend of one of our DJs, and he came down and did a set for us in this nightclub at a sixth form party, this guy Eddie C, and he was like the dopest, the absolute dopest. And then here we are now, 25 years later, and he is Eddie C of the Wide Boys, international
Right.
renowned UK garage, absolute leader of the scene, Kiss 100, like
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird. But yeah, there was quite a good, I mean, you originally from Sussex as well, right?
Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah,
Sussex,
so like
Sussex,
like I used to go record shopping in Brighton. Me and my
Yeah,
buddies
yeah.
would go as soon as we could drive. We'd get in our cars every Saturday and go to Brighton. Spend all day on a Saturday in Brighton, like going
Yeah.
around. You'd do like the Virgin, the HMV. Then we'd go to Dance 2 Records was always our one
Yeah.
that we used to love. There was a guy that used to work there, a hard house DJ called Jumpin' John Weatherly, and we would have lock-ins at Dance 2 Records. So like we'd go there last, and he would close
Fantastic.
the doors, lock
Yeah.
the doors, and they had a big turbo sound system in there. So then our stuff that we'd been putting aside, we could then listen to on the big sound system instead of just on the headphones at the back. So like
Amazing.
it's mad how like when people kind of encourage you in those ways, like this, that
Yeah,
guy John
exactly.
like didn't know us from Adam, but like he knew that we were keen and we were into our music, and we would go there every weekend, and like it's great when you get that kind of support from somebody, and that's kind of what instilled in me the whole thing of this DJ community that we're all in. It's like,
That's what I
yeah,
was gonna say.
actually,
Yeah.
it's not just about making a buck off people and stuff. It's actually, being a part of something and feeling that together. And that's all, it's funny how, this one hard house DJ is just like stuck in my brain forever, but he will be because, it was special. Dance 2 was a great, superb shop. I remember they had Azif, the female turntablist DMC
Yeah.
UK person in there. She did all the hip hop and drum and bass and stuff. Got some amazing records in there. Like, it was just that's what I did miss for the longest time. Obviously, about buying music was the fact you didn't get to go to the record stores and have that community. And obviously now in recent years, in my older age, some of that's come back a little bit. But I guess we'll get to that
Yeah.
45
Well,
thing
I
in a
guess
bit.
it
I
was, you
suppose.
know, back then there was so many record shops, and like you say, you know, you go to Brighton, and you're not just going to go to like one record shop. You're going to, you know, you spend all day going around to
Yeah.
all these record shops, and every town, city had many record shops. Now it's sort of slowly coming back a little bit, but it's not in the same way, because obviously a lot of the record shops now are, oh, we're a cafe that happens to sell records, or we're a you know, we're a food place, or we're a bookshop that happens to sell records, or, you know, there's very few,
Yeah.
because you can't make any money on it really. That's the problem. You know, the margins are
Yes.
so small.
Yeah.
It's really hard. But imagine if you could now go into one of the record shops, or an 18-year-old or 17-year-old could go into these record shops and hear their music on these sound systems. You know, it just starts off the whole process and the whole journey all over again, because people don't have those systems at home. You know, and unless you're playing at festivals or stuff, you're not getting the chance to hear this stuff on these
Yeah.
massive sound systems.
And it's that curation thing as well. It's having,
Yeah.
you know, it's so easy to get all the music in the world. But at the same time, like, what you really need is someone to curate the music for you. You know,
Yeah.
you need someone to say, this is a banger, you know, and in these days when we rely on, like, you know, Spotify's algorithmically generated playlists for stuff, it's not the same, you know, like, that's where the manual curation comes in. And I guess, again, we'll talk about Beat Source later on as well, but that's what we're all about at Beat Source, is bringing that manual curation to this music discovery thing. Because actually, yeah, it's great that we can have all the music, but you don't want all the music. You want to know what's good. And like,
Exactly.
that's where, for a young DJ now, it's you know, those people in the record stores were people we looked up to. And we trusted their judgment in it. And if John Weatherly said that tune banged, then I was going to buy that tune and I would play it on that night, and it would bang. And, you know, it's that relationship and that trust you have with people.
Yeah,
and that's
definitely.
important.
Yeah, I mean, I've got that when I go to Rarekind. You know, Ewan will say, you know, check this out, or there's the box behind and there's the back box behind the thing, or go and have a see Mr. Thing in Hastings as well. He'll say, you know, flick through his, right, there you go, have that one, check that one out, and it's all that. Okay, my daughter's sort of watching in. She's telling me to tell you what happened when we went to Rarekind. So I was downstairs flicking through the 45s, and she sort of went up. She was like, can I go upstairs? I was like, yeah, fine, go upstairs. So like 10 minutes later, I'm like, where's she gone? And then I sort of wander upstairs, and she's dancing around, and she'd basically got the guy to put on some... She asked him what the record sounded like, and it was just like heavy jungle. And I was like, yes, brilliant. This is fantastic. So we had to buy that one. And then we've been back since and bought stuff. And she's got another one. So anyway, so she's a junglist already at 8 years
Yes.
old.
Yes.
which is good. Go on, come and say hello, and then you need to go to bed. Sorry, she normally comes and says hello to my guests before the shows, but she was in bed. So anyway, I think you met her briefly at Beat Geek anyway.
Yes.
So,
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, little 45 queen.
how you doing?
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yes, you?
Yes.
You need to be in bed.
See, yeah, you make it. I put my 6-year-old to bed not that long ago.
Right, go on then. Right, anyway, she, you know, I don't mind her coming on the show because she's an important part of what we do with the 45 kids, and it was, it was great for her to meet you, because while we were chatting at Beat Geek, my friend Jodie, who I didn't know was going to be there, one of the DJs through the 45 Kings community, was showing her stuff on Serato, which was really cool because she hadn't sort of had a go or anything like that before, other than a little bit of a go with me at Tractor. It's great to see the sort of younger generation having a go. And I loved that at Beat Geek that you could just get on there and just have a go at whatever. And we will talk about that.
My kids couldn't care less about any of it. Like, I've got an 11-year-old daughter. She is not interested in any way. And my 6-year-old son, he's into some music. Like, we bump tunes in the car, you know, obviously. But like, he's not shown any interest in the actual DJ stuff yet. I wouldn't put them off it, you know. I wouldn't. It's up to them what they want to do with their free time. But you know, it's
exactly.
I'm
It's interesting.
Slightly disappointed.
Yeah. We would. we were talking. I think it was Double A last week. We were talking about this. That the music industry is great for a lot of reasons, but it's also can be quite difficult on mental health and well-being and all of that, because obviously there's a lot of competition and you're trying to sort of compete with other people and all the rest of it. So it's difficult. Although I'd love her to get into it, half of me's like, well, I don't know,
Yeah.
But it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. But as long as she enjoys it, as long as she enjoys it.
Yeah, that's it. It's all about creative outlet. Oh, look.
She's still here. Right.
And I do enjoy it.
Good.
Right. That is it. Hopefully that's it. But anyway, let's get back to where we were. Obviously, you're DJing for your dad and those sort of parties. How does that sort of progress and go further in terms of sort of building up DJ career?
Well, I don't know. It's quite funny. That grounding in mobile DJing kind of put me in good stead in that long ago, right at the start of my career, I realized that I don't care what I play as long as it works. And that's not to say that I don't take pride in how I play in it, but like I will play anything if the room wants it. Not if it's a dodgy request or whatever, but if the room is wanting a certain thing and I can give it to them, that brings me joy. So like I will happily play terrible records. I will play, like doing the kids' parties. Like I was quite lucky in a way because at the time, school discos, kids' parties and stuff, always terrible. Like no, the music doesn't really matter. But I started doing them, and then not long afterwards, the Spice Girls became a thing, and all of a sudden, pre-teen kids, especially girls, were fully into music in a way that they hadn't been since probably like the 80s. Do you know what I mean? It was full on, and so. I was rocking those Spice Girls joints. I was playing the YMCA every single gig without fail and loving it because if stuff works, I'm happy. Like so, when I started doing club stuff, I was playing more of the music that I liked. So like at the time, late 90s, so it's like trance, hard house, speed garage, like UK garage and stuff like that. It was Bogner is like thinks it's London by the sea. It's really not, but it thinks it is. So I was playing cooler stuff that I enjoyed, but it's still I was playing stuff that they wanted to hear, and I was making the crowd happy. So that's always been my thing. I'm a crowd pleasing kind of DJ. I'm not there to push my own musical agenda. If I can play stuff that I like as part of that, brilliant. But I'm happy to be a commercial DJ. So I was kind of knocking around doing that. And then in London, I moved to London when I was early 20s. And me and my buddy Shaylan used to do, we used to play as Fat Plastic together. And we would play like kind of A-skills, kind of funky hip hop breaks.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I don't know what not new funk really, but like, that kind of vibe and just funky beats. And we played that and we really enjoyed that. And that did okay. We were, weren't like working all the time, but like we had a decent amount of gigs in London. But then when I moved up to Newcastle in 2005, I took that decision. I'm definitely just going to do commercial, full on, and just get paid. But actually, because I still really enjoy it, and to me, there's an art to putting together commercial tracks in a creative way. That means you don't just sound like every other DJ, So I'm mixing, I'm blending. The biggest kind of example of that was I went to Sunderland Uni as a mature student, and then when I finished that in like 2008, 2009, I started DJing in this indie club called Independent in Sunderland, and I didn't really know that much about it. I knew Britpop and stuff, but I didn't know. And that was the time when Arctic Monkeys was kicking off, like Libertines and all that was a thing. And I very quickly learnt how to play indie and rock and all that kind of stuff. But I was mixing it. Like I was putting it together. Like every indie DJ in the world is bollocks. I'm straight up. Like indie DJs are all complete bollocks. They play one record, they play the next
Selectors,
one. I was like looping. I was, this is early days of Serato, so I'm like mixing and blending and like looping stuff and using effects and doing like my basic scratching and so on, and actually DJing with this indie music and this rock music. And that was a thing that not many people had really heard. Do you know what I mean? In that crowd, they're all kind of young students, and it was like so different from everything else that anyone else was doing. And I did that Saturday night there for like 3 years, something like that, 4 years, and smashed
yeah.
it. Like absolutely loved it. So that's what I mean. Like I'll play whatever. Like I know, and I really enjoyed playing that music. I would never sit down and listen to Arctic Monkeys at home. It's not. No, it's not my thing. Not for a minute. But I played that stuff in the rave and it smashed it up. And I got in, and I got to mix in drum and bass, and I got to mix in a bit of dubstep because that was when the dubstep was kind of, the bro step was kicking in, like Dr. P, Sweet Shop, and stuff like that. And yeah, I got to push the limits of it. But ultimately, that brought me joy. A big dark room full of people going off to the Kaiser Chiefs. I'll have some of that. Do you know what I mean? And I did have some of that for a long time. So it's yeah. So for me, that's where DJing has always been. It's about what room am I in? How can I rock this room and give these people a good time? Because that will give me a good time. Simple as that.
But it's also like you're saying, you're doing it in a creative way. Like you say, it's not just literally every track. You've thought about it and you thought, okay, how can I make this interesting for you, but also different to everyone else and make yourself stand out? Because, like you say, indie DJs, anyone really could do it. You could just play one record and then another record. You just need the records.
Yeah.
And it's very easy. The popular records. But again,
I shouldn't say
really
every indie DJ is bollocks. By the way, that's not. Patrick Nazemi is very good, and Crash Party. I know he used to do a lot of indie stuff, and he's a dope DJ. So I'm not saying every single, but by and large, you'd go to these indie nights, and it's just a guy. I went to one indie bar, and there was a woman DJing off iTunes.
Right.
Like, literally just playing on iTunes. Like, not even two instances of iTunes, just one iTunes.
Just one
with
iTunes.
like the auto fade. Like, not even virtual, just iTunes.
Might not even be there, but anyway.
Getting paid to play iTunes. You know what I mean? That's all right. Okay.
That's bonkers, isn't it? That's bonkers.
That wouldn't satisfy me, you see. That's what I would never be happy with that. I need that flexibility to be creative with what I'm doing.
Yeah. Because then it's you're just pressing a button and then choosing the next one, aren't you? It's not.
Yeah.
There's no. Okay, there's a skill to choosing the records, but there's no skill to actually doing anything, because you could do that in your sleep. Okay, let's move on to 45s then. So obviously you're a big 45s DJ and a big 45s fan. When did the bug sort of first hit you with 45s and it become a big thing? Obviously you've talked about from a young age, but were you collecting all the way through your youth, or
not really? Because
I come back later.
When I got into when I started DJing, I was playing cassettes, like stuff taped off the top 40 and stuff, and mixing that up with 7-inches bought from Woolworths, because, in the UK, for those who are outside the UK, we had this like general store called Woolworths on the high street, and we used to go, they used to sell all the chart releases and the new releases and stuff all on 7 inches. And in those days, you could get like SL2 on a ragga tip was available on a 7-inch in Woolworths, as was, the Prodigy's new stuff, and everything was on alternate, all of that. Yeah, everything was on 7-inch vinyl in Woolworths, right? It was just a thing. And so I was buying 7 inches then, but as I got a bit older, I started then buying 12s, house and rave stuff and whatever else, and hip hop. And so the 12s thing kind of took over for a long time, but I always kept a foot in the 45s. And then when I was living in London, some of those sets, we did a thing a couple of times called the Super 7 Selector, because I had a lot of 45s still, and we just did a night where we just played 45s. That was we didn't really know how to do. There wasn't the tools that we have today, like like the donuts, etc. Like that was. So it was a tricky old thing. But we did a couple of nights like that. But and because I'd inherited, well, I say inherited, when I was around like 19 or 20, I did. Me and my mates used to help out at this youth club in Bognor Regis called the 39 Club, I think it was called, something like that. And we used to help out there. And at one point, they wanted us to do some gigs for them, to do some parties at the youth club and DJ them. But they didn't have any money. But what they did have was this massive 600 box, like one of those old kind of wooden coated flight cases full of 7-inch singles that another DJ had left there like 15 years before. So it was all like an 80s 7-inch mobile DJ collection of records. And I said, all right, well, don't pay us, we'll just do it for those records. So I had a massive stash of 45s, and that's always been on the back burner. But then what kind of relit but then I went all digital and everything. But then what lit it again for me was around, I think 2015 maybe. Kenny Dope did the DJ Sound show, on the Pioneer DJ show on YouTube, and he played 45s. And he played some of his kind of Kenny Dope funky beats, hip hoppy stuff. But then he also, halfway through, switched up into playing house.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that's a thing. Firstly, I have all of these old dance records on 45 anyway from back in the day.
Yeah.
Why don't I do a thing called House on 45? This could be my little niche. I could just get all these old house records and dance records, and I could do like a touring thing, House on 45. It's just like a guy playing all these old house records on 7-inch. That never came to pass.
Okay.
But the idea was there, and in fact, I think Sam Tweaks actually was going to use that name for something else.
Yeah.
House on 45. He was doing that as well. And I've got the. I think I've still got the .com. I think I've got house on45.com.
Don't let Sam
I've
take
got
that.
a Facebook. When I was going to say I said at some point I'll just give it to him because I'm not going to use it. But yes, because whenever you do a project, there's a pro tip for you: get the Facebook, get the Instagram, get the Twitter, get the .com, get everything locked off before you start your project because you might not be able to get it later.
Exactly.
So
Very
I
good
did
tip,
it. I did. So I never used it, but yeah, I did that. And then, but then the trouble is, once you start, and I was like, okay, well, there's these other ones I want to pick up that I don't have. So let me pick these up. And then once you open the seal, there's no going back. And it's like, oh, what about these hip hop records? What about this funk? What about this soul? What about this disc? Oh, and then that's it. You're just a 45 head after that. And I was fully then.
It's just
deep.
down the rabbit hole, isn't it? I mean,
it only took a matter of months before I was just deep in it, and just Discogs packages turning up every other day, eBay, and the thing was, like, a lot of the stuff when I was starting out was because I play a lot of old school classics, like, that's what I was looking for. And I am an obvious DJ. I'm not going to pretend to you that I'm some kind of ultimate underground diller head. It's not me. I'm a party DJ, right? That's what I do. I play party music for people and I make people, So a lot of the records I was getting were pretty cheap. I'm picking up like 10 at a time from one seller on Discogs for like £2 each or whatever, just getting loads and loads of records. And I got all of those in, and then it just goes on from there. As you know, it just goes on from there. You get the stuff that's coming out as represses, you get the bootlegs, you get you find you hear other stuff on streams these days, especially, someone DJing on YouTube, and it's just like that's where you go with it. But funny enough, the other thing that was a big inspiration then, having got into the 45 thing a bit more, was Shadow and Cut Chemist.
Yeah, of course.
And the product placement, the hard sell, all of those. This is a bootleg CD called Slurped, which is a compilation of lots of the 45s that they played on the product placement.
Yeah.
Which is full of really, really dope stuff. But that's been lurking around. Yeah. I don't have any CDs really, but this is one of the few CDs that's lurking around, because all my CDs I ripped and then gave to charity shops years ago. So that was a big inspiration. I just went and watched the hard sell again the other day. Actually, it's on YouTube in full, and my word, what an incredible! Just those guys, just different levels. But once you start, there's no going back.
There isn't any going back. and I've definitely found that. And again, we were talking about it last week on the show. Is AA said it's a bit like a pyramid. When you first start out, you're just trying to buy everything and collect everything. And obviously, the more you go into it, you're being a lot more selective. And I think I'm getting to that point where I'm like, I've got plenty of records already. I'm now being much more selective about what I'm buying.
Yes.
One of the reasons is that they are much more expensive now than they used to be.
Aren't they just? Oh my word! I was trying to order some stuff this week, and I was just like, I'm not going to buy that because the amount of times I'm going to play it, it's not worth £15. If it was like £8 or a tenner, I could justify that. But the amount of gigs where I'm going to play that one record, it's not worth 15, 16 quid. It's just not. I mean, that's an album price. Do you know what I mean? That's album price.
I mean, albums have gone up
crazy.
As well, but it is crazy. It is crazy, And I mean, you sort of look at some albums now. I don't buy albums when I go to Redcon, but I look at them, and then even Redcon, which is relative cheap, like 35, 40 quid for an album or a double LP.
Wild.
You're just like, it's insane. And there doesn't seem to be, it's not like I think we're peaking and it's going to start coming back. It seems to be getting more and more expensive. 17, 18 quid. I don't know. I asked on one of our streams. I was like, where is the cutoff? Where is the cutoff where you will not buy a new 45 at what price? And people are like, well, we're not far off it. We're not far off it now. 15, 16, 17 quid.
Yeah, and the thing is, we've all spent more than that on the records. Like I went through quite a phase of buying the Jamaican 45 hip hop bootlegs.
Yeah.
That was I had a bit of a phase of doing that. That's before all these kind of new bootlegs came out and they started appearing on Juno. But like this is before that, so I was buying like Busta Rhymes records and stuff off these these really crappy bootleg Jamaican 45s with really bad pressings, recycled vinyl where they just leave the labels on and just put it all into the machine. Like terrible, but like
Yeah.
super rare. And I didn't mind spending 40, 50, you know, a little bit more than that sometimes on a record. But if it's something that is in Juno, on Juno, and anyone can buy it, yeah, I do kind of draw the line at about 13 quid is like generally my line, unless it's a very special record that I'm going to play. I know I'm going to play a lot
Yeah.
because I don't buy these records for fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I do, you know, I'm saying I buy them to DJ with.
Yeah.
My 45 collection, I don't sit around and listen to my 45s. I've got Spotify for that. I've got computers for that. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't. I buy them as tools to DJ with, and
Yeah.
so then it becomes: is this value? Does it have enough value as a tool for me to use?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the only question I ever ask. And if it's like, yeah, if it hits that value, then I'll play it. You know, that's worth paying. But otherwise, no.
Yeah, we
You
got
know,
we got
but
Kev Dink's records in the house, and he's saying 10 should be max, which
oh, if only. I mean,
If only, yeah.
I get it. I get it. Like it's inflation, it's rising material costs, it's shipping, it's the war, it's all of these. Everything's getting more expensive, and I do appreciate that. And what I do appreciate as well is the fact that people who are making these records need to make money. Like they,
well, yeah,
you know,
definitely. They need
that's
to
the
make
thing. Like,
something. Yeah,
and so it's not. You know, I wouldn't want people who release records to not make money. The artists should make money. The remixers should make money. The people running the label should make money. It's not a
yeah,
charity. But there is a point where I will say stop. Like a lot of this stuff on Juno now, that's like Japanese imports and stuff. I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it. It's too
It's a lot of
much.
money,
Like
innit?
20 odd quid is too much for one record, unless, as I say, it's something I'm definitely going to play a lot, or it's something rare. If it's rare, like I paid like 50 quid for Brown Paper Bag, Italian jukebox pressing. Yeah, I paid that all day. I would pay that in a heartbeat again tomorrow. That seems like a bargain. Armand Van Helden, You Don't Know Me. I think that was my most expensive one. UK jukebox pressing, 60 quid. I think that's the most I've ever spent
Yeah.
on a single record. Worth every penny. I've played that dozens of times. Do you know what I mean?
Well, exactly.
It's a value thing for me, and yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, and then it comes down to like how many times you're going to play it. You know, it's got a potentially further down the line a resale value. It is
Yeah.
a collectible record. You know, as long as you look after it and all the rest of it. Yeah, we will see what happens because obviously the community that I'm in and part of is based on 45s, but then you think, okay, you can go to Discogs, you can go to record shops, you can go to charity shops. We've got Benny Goggs in the house. One of the places in Worthing that he introduced me to is called Music Mania. You can fill a brown paper bag, 25 45s for a fiver. If you know what you're looking for, and he does
Yeah.
know a lot of what you're looking for, you can find some really good stuff, really cheap. And it's also making you stand out a little bit from all the other DJs. I'm not saying every DJ goes and buys just the Juno, whatever comes out on Juno, but there is some people who do that. And you've got to spread your wings and buy stuff from all sorts of different places to make yourself an interesting DJ and have an interesting collection, I think. And you can get stuff a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, I do play a lot of old records, like I because for me the whole thing of music is we have now however many, what is it, 70 years of recorded music on 45 available to us to play. So why wouldn't I go back to the 70s, to the 60s, to the the 80s stuff that's more obscure and like no one that's I have as much fun digging for old stuff as I do for new releases, and
Definitely.
that's always going to be the case.
Here's a question from Jay Crucial. I'll answer my first, and then obviously you can have a go. So the question is: would you get the same vibe digitally, like a time code in 45 format, or am I missing the point and the true essence vibe? Now, I played at Boomtown this year, and originally it was going to be I was going to take my 45s, and then at the last minute they're like, "Oh, we haven't got decks. Do you want to bring your decks to this festival?" I was like, "No," and I was like, "Okay, right." So what I'll do is I'll rip some of my 45s, the Bandcamp one that I bought, I've got digitally, and I did it. And I was using CDJs, and it was the same music, but it didn't feel the same. I was sort of still DJing the same music in the same sort of way, but I don't know, it just didn't feel the same not doing it on vinyl. I mean, I don't know, what's your sort of take on that?
Well, I mean, I'm quite well known as someone who's quite into DJ technology.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's different. It is different. The whole thing for me, when I play on digital, whether it be Serato or CDJs or whatever else, I play very differently from how I play on 45s. My style is completely different because
Yeah.
it has to be. Like 45s make you play in a certain way. You can't loop stuff. You can't, you can't you can't use sync. I mean, when I play on Serato now, I'm sync all day long. And I'm
Yeah.
proud of it. I don't have to prove to anyone that I can mix. I can mix. But I love sync because it means I can mix stuff really quickly, and it means I can loop stuff over and over and keep.
Yeah.
And using the stems feature now in the new version of Serato, I can cut to an a cappella of any track at any time and mix in these really different and creative ways, which I can't do with a 45. But that's why 45s are such a joy, because they are the purest form of DJing. You've only got 3.5 minutes. If you
Yeah.
don't get the next one on within 3.5 minutes, you're screwed. If you that's it. You've only got, on each record, you've got two sides. You've got two tracks on there. That's it. There's no remixes. There's no like drum dubs or a cappella sections. Like, you can't loop them without a lot of fuss. You can to a degree on some mixes, but like, no, it's just the pure, and you get skipping needles and you get jumps and you get all these issues
Yeah.
and that's why I love 45s, because for me it takes away all of those little safety net things and all of those extra creative little niceties that I have in the digital world, and it puts them out of the picture, and I've just got it's raw DJing. It's like the
Yeah.
rawest form of DJing that there is, and that is that's what I love. So I would never just do one or the other, because I love doing both.
Sure.
But that's because they are very different kinds of DJing to me. Some people play in a very similar way, whatever they're doing. But for me, when I'm on digital, I'm using that tech to its fullest. When I'm playing 45s, it's the raw, it's the OG. That's all it is.
Yeah, yeah. That's a very good way of putting it. Very good way of putting it. And hello to a few more people we've got in the chat. We've got, I said hello to Benny Goggs as well. T2 Funk's joined us. We've got Mocktac, and I think I've said hello to Twitch Witch. If not, hello. But yeah, it's great. Right, so let's move on a little bit then. Let's jump to Twitch. We're on Twitch. Sam Tweaks always tells it a lot that you were very instrumental, and he tells a story about how basically you messaged him and you basically said you need to get on Twitch. Twitch is where it's going to be. Twitch is going to be the platform. Twitch is where the DJs are going to be. So before obviously the sort of rush of DJs to get onto Twitch, how did you first become aware of Twitch? Were you a gamer and then sort of found out that DJs were on there, or did someone tell you that there was DJs on there? Or what was your story in terms of getting onto Twitch initially?
In 2019 or maybe even 2018, there was the Canadian DJ champ, DMC Championship, Vect, who's like one of the greatest turntablists who's ever lived, right? Incredible guy. He was doing stuff on Twitch. He was doing, though, like tutorials and talking people through scratch techniques and showing how to make battle records and all this kind of stuff. And he was doing all of that on Twitch. And I interviewed him about that on the DJ City channel for YouTube. And I did an interview with him about that. And I didn't understand it at all. I just thought it was a gamer thing at that point.
Yeah.
But I knew as well that Kutsky was doing Twitch, the UK hardcore guy. He was doing Twitch as well, and he was actually DJing on it. But I just thought it was a super niche thing. And I honestly can't tell you what made me realize that it was the thing for DJing on when the pandemic hit. I actually don't know, because I was starting on, when I first did streams during the pandemic, right at the start, because I was lucky, I had a load of camera gear at home. That's what, and I'd already done some videos about live streaming to Facebook and what have you a few years before, and they did mad numbers once the pandemic started.
I've got to thank you, because I remember watching a little clip or something, and you were talking about the Logitech C920, and you were saying it's a great camera, and I think you posted it's cheap on whatever site it was, 25 quid or something. And I was like, okay.
It was Amazon, it was Prime Day stuff. Yeah, it was one of those.
I'm not streaming, but you never know, at some point that might come in handy. So I picked up two, and they sat on my shelf until it came time for me to actually do streaming. I was like, okay, well, I've got these cameras, I can get started now.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that. If I hadn't seen that, I wouldn't have been quite in the same not a head start,
Yeah,
but I had a start that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
it's weird how that just kind of worked out, because I was always interested in the idea of streaming. There was a thing called Chew.tv back in the day as well, that I was sort of looking at that, and there was various options. But yeah, it's funny because when I started streaming, I was multi-streaming to Facebook and YouTube and to Twitch. I started off on I started doing my progress streams where I was playing all this progressive house, because
Yeah.
basically my thought was, if we're all going to die soon, I want to play the stuff that I really loved when I was 21. And so that was, going to see John Digweed at Bedrock once a month in London.
Yeah.
Like, that was my religion almost at that age. So I was just like, if I'm going to go out here, if this is the end of the world, I want to go out playing like Sasha records. Basically, that's how it's going to be. But yeah, so I was multi-streaming, and then I got like YouTube kept going down, and then Facebook, I got fully banned from Facebook for like a month. To the point where I couldn't even share, like DJ City would post my new videos and I couldn't even share those posts.
Man.
I was fully banned on Facebook just for streaming. Like, it was dreadful. So, and I think it was a Crystal Waters record that actually got me the block on Facebook, got me the ban off. So I'm forever antagonistic towards Crystal Waters now. But like, yeah, we, so it just ended up, and it very quickly became clear that Twitch was the safe place to be, and that's really all that mattered.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the bits and the subs and all that. It was just about, we need a safe place to play where we can play without getting taken down. That's all it was. No one was thinking like Twitch is a career, Twitch is a long-term thing. Everyone was just thinking, I just want to play my music to people and not get taken down. And Twitch was very quickly becoming that. And then, yeah, I just remember just evangelizing to everyone that I knew, like, you have to do Twitch. Everyone was still trying to do Facebook, and they were trying to do Instagram with that yellow duck app and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you're fighting a losing battle. It's never going to work. Like, I've been banned for a month from Facebook, full stop, for doing this. It's never going to happen. You just move to Twitch because that is the platform that will have you. And it worked out that way. And Twitch at that time was supporting the community really well. With big channels going on, Serato and Beatport, and lots of stuff happening there with bigger channels, and like Four Color Zach and all these. So it was getting that support, and I think they've pulled back on that now. I think the music industry's probably forced them to pull back on that a little bit at this stage, but like they were being very supportive, and it just was the fact that you could play and not get taken down. All of the other stuff that the beautiful things that come from Twitch, the community, the bits, the subs, the points, all of that came later. It was just about, this is where we can play and get away with it, and that was what it matters. Like, that's all it is, and thank goodness, touch wood all around, like, we are still doing that to this day, which is, we're still here. It's incredible.
It brings a few. Obviously, part of this show is about mental health, and obviously you've talked about, at the start of the pandemic, we didn't know how long it was going to last, what was going to happen, and like you say, if you're going to go out, you might as well play music. So, how was it for you? Because obviously you have a DJ career, you're out DJing. Did it sort of slow down all the DJ City stuff as well, the pandemic, or was that still sort of
No, to be honest, like, I was blessed the whole time in the pandemic, because my wife works for the NHS. She's not like ER or anything. Do you know what I mean? She's not in like casual, but like, she is in the NHS, so she was working throughout. I was, by that point, I'd transitioned to mostly just making videos for a living. DJing is now my like side hustle.
Yeah.
So I was hit. I did take a little bit of a hit, but still, fundamentally, I was employed as well. So both of us in the house were employed, and I was able to carry on doing my work from home and look after the kids during lockdown and stuff, which was a challenge. Like, I'm not going to make light of it, but like, compared to what some people, and we didn't, I didn't lose anyone in my family or even any like close friend. I didn't lose anyone through it. So all the way through, really, I was blessed. And because a lot of my friends are full-time DJs, and they were absolutely destroyed by it. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing, and what have you. So that's not to minimize what anyone else went through. I just happened to be really lucky that was the point I was at in my life, where, if it had been 3 years earlier or 4 years earlier, I was still then earning the bulk of my money, of my income from DJing, and that would have been a catastrophic problem, So it just worked out that I was very lucky there. But it did hit me, like, in the beginning. I remember very clearly doom scrolling Twitter all day. Like the kids would be, at home. They were on doing their school, and I would literally be sat there for like a week on end, just doom scrolling Twitter all day, trying to see what's
What's going
happening
on?
with this
Yeah,
end
yeah.
of the world scenario that's going on. And it got to the point where it was actually fully impacting me, my mental health, really quite badly. And I just had to turn it off, and I just had to stop using social media. It was Twitter in particular. Twitter's the one, I use a lot of social media for work, but like the one that I actually look at for news and so on. I follow lots of politics and American politics and British politics and so on. That's what Twitter is for me. Twitter's like an actual news feed, and I would literally just scroll that all day. And it was bad for me. It was bad for me being around the kids doing that. Like it wasn't a good thing at all. And so it was only after, I think, the first couple of weeks of lockdown where I finally said, no, I just need to delete. I literally deleted Twitter for a while, because you get in that loop, that endless loop of just
Yeah.
swiping down to refresh and see what's happening. And it's absolutely dreadful. So yeah, I mean, that's probably, it's a bit of a weird one. My mental health in my life has been fairly stable, and I think a lot of that's because I destroyed a lot of my serotonin in my 20s by smoking
Right.
endless amounts of weed and other things when I was going to Bedrock and
Yeah, yeah.
raving. So like, I'm pretty calm, I'm pretty chill on the whole. Like I'm a very just chill person, and I think all of that weed that I smoked. Big up Benny, thanks for looking in.
Take care, Benny.
All that weed that I smoked just kind of permanently affected me to the point where I'm just kind of chill all the time, and like I don't let stuff bother me too much. But there are times, and it's generally driven by social media. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
It happens around Brexit. Like when Brexit happened, I
Oh,
was in the same cycle then, like doom scrolling, like what the hell's going on with the world. When Trump won in the US, the elections
yeah.
in 2016, same thing happened then. So all of my kind of mental health issues that I've had in my life have been driven, I think, mainly by social media. Like social media is really poisonous on the one hand.
Yeah,
On the
exactly. I was
other
going to say, yeah,
hand,
yeah.
Twitch is effectively social media as well, and Twitch has been an incredibly valuable and beautiful thing in my life. So it's not to tar all social media and all ways that you interact with it in the same brush, but I do worry about our kids growing up in this world where like social media is such a big thing from such a young age. I do think it's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to hurt them in a lot of ways, and I'm making sure that my kids are nowhere near it, for
Well,
as
we would,
long as possible.
yeah. It's trying to keep that sort of edge on it because, again, I was talking about to Tabale last week. Zizi's got a little Instagram page that I've set up for her just for some of her DJ stuff. And she said to me last week, she's like, "Oh, how many followers have I got?" I was like, "Look, it's not about followers. It doesn't matter how many people are doing that. And also, I've got to check on it because it's a parent page. I make
Yeah,
sure who comes on it. But it is worrying that even already at such a young age, how many followers, how many likes am I going to have? And you're like, okay,
yeah,
so when she gets a phone and she's got apps and all the rest of it, we're not going to be able to control any of this, and it's going to be very difficult trying to keep our kids safe as much as we can.
yeah.
We can't keep them totally safe, but obviously, it's something we're going to, as parents, going to have to deal with because, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, that's what's here now. Who knows what's going to be around the corner that we're not going to have anything. I mean, TikTok.
Yeah, I mean,
I've
I
looked at it. I've
think
got no
TikTok
idea. I
is
don't get
like
it.
TikTok is absolute poison. Like my 11-year-old,
Yeah.
she really wants to go on TikTok. She's like, "Oh, all of my friends are on TikTok." And okay, firstly, no, they're not, because we check with
Yeah.
their parents, and like only about two of them are on TikTok. So don't give me that nonsense. But secondly, every time she asks me that again, I go on TikTok and I
Yeah.
check out TikTok, and I last about 3 minutes before I turn it off and say, "This is
It's
poison.
yeah.
No one should be allowed to have access to this.
Yeah.
No one. It's poison." TikTok is the absolute worst because it's got the worst algorithm of all of it. It's purely algorithm based. There's no manual curation, or it's just like YouTube is there. To be fair to YouTube, like their algorithms are pretty advanced, and they're generally like they've got a lot better. Like they used to be
Yeah.
quite poisonous, they're less so now. TikTok is still at that poisonous algorithm kind of stage, and I think it always will be because that's what makes them the money. And so yeah, I'd rather be irrelevant than be on TikTok. I'll tell you that. You'll never see me on TikTok. Never.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Never.
That's interesting to know. Um, so Twitch then. Obviously, it was somewhere that you could play, and you managed to build up quite a following. Obviously, you got a following before Twitch.
Yeah, I mean,
Obviously,
that
that
helps.
helps.
Yeah.
That helps when you get onto Twitch. But how did you find, the community building up? Was it something that surprised you once you started going about how amazing the community were, or did it take a while, or how did you view
No,
it?
it was a real shock how quickly it grew, and it's just, I mean, the thing is with me, all of my audience, pretty much, and still to this day, the only people who know who I am are DJs, basically. I'm
Yeah,
quite famous amongst DJs, but
yeah,
no one who's not a DJ has a clue who I am. So, like, that's quite an interesting dynamic compared to a lot of people. And so, my whole thing with Twitch was always like, Twitch is where I do my DJing. If you want
yeah,
to hear me do tech talk, I get paid for that. I do that on YouTube for a living. Like, come and watch my YouTube videos.
yeah.
So I've been tempted at times to do like a Cleveland Terry or a Tweak Music Tips kind of talk show and do techie nerdy talk, because I'm pretty sure that I would easily get bigger audiences and I
Yeah.
would get bigger revenue from doing that. But I don't want to do that because that's what I do already elsewhere.
That's your
I don't
job.
want to dilute that. And also, I want people to know me as a DJ. Like, I've been DJing for 30 years this year. It's my 30th year of DJing. I
Yeah,
want
wow.
people to, because I've never been a known DJ. I've never been a famous DJ. I've never been a touring DJ. I have been a working DJ for most of my adult life. But I've never been a known DJ. And I just want people to know that I am a DJ. I'm not bad at what I do. I'm not the best, but I'm not bad at what I do. And like, it's just one of those things where, yeah, so Twitch is, but so all of my people who follow me are DJs, and we do get into a bit of nerdy talk over the records, but fundamentally, if you're coming to watch me, you're coming to watch me play records and share the music that
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
discovered and I want to share with you. So, there's been times when I've focused really on one style of music. Like in the beginning, it was all this progressive house, and then I started doing all kinds of different stuff. And then end of 2021, I started getting fully into doing just like, or start of 2022, I was doing all like disco, funky house, trying to chase the kind of US audience a little bit more,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
that's where the money's at, is the US.
Yeah.
The Americans throw money at you, but like, I wanted to do that a little bit more. But then I just keep coming back to, in the end, all of that falls apart, and I just end up, right, tonight I'm playing funk. Tonight I'm playing 90s hardcore. Like, it's just, I can't help myself because I like so much music. But like, the actual, coming back to the community side of it, yeah, very quickly I had regular people locking in. And I do think the fact that I talk a lot on the streams, like some people that would annoy them, I'm sure, but I do talk a lot. I do interact with the audience. I do read the chat and I talk to the chat and everything else, because part of it, certainly in the beginning, was just being able to talk to somebody, because I
Yeah,
was spending
definitely.
all day at home with my kids.
Yeah.
And then spending the night times, my missus would come home from work late and go to bed like 2 hours later. And then I'm spending most of my time not speaking to an adult in any way. And it's like so just joyous to be able to just speak to people like that. And I still enjoy that because I'm a solitary worker. Like, I produce my videos entirely
Yeah.
solo. I work, there's no one else in Newcastle who actually works for Beat Source and DJ City anymore. Like, I'm the only one. So like,
It's you, yeah.
it's not, yeah, it's not like, I have my office and everything else, but I'm in there on my own all the time. So for me, yeah, and when I'm DJing as well, like most of my gigs now, my regular residency that I do is by the River Bruco in Gateshead, where I'm in a shipping container, one story up from everything else,
Yeah.
literally on my own. So
I've seen
I'm
the
in a
photos,
shipping
yeah.
container on my own. Again,
Yeah.
don't speak to another human being. I say hello to the bloke who opens the door for me at the start of the night. I say goodbye to him. That's the only human contact I have. So for me, being on Twitch, and yeah, I'm a bit chatty on the mic, but yeah, because I enjoy talking to people, and I think people get a lot out of that. So I'll say hi to my regulars, and we'll have a chat, and I'll say hi to new people, and it's just part of what I wanted to do with it at the start. I've always had ambitions to be a radio host.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
kind of what I was trying to do at the very beginning was trying to copy Armin van Buuren, A State of Trance that he
Right.
does, which is a kind of podcasty radio show thing that he's been doing for years and years and years. And I was trying to kind of copy that, but very quickly that fell apart from being this kind of structured radio show kind of style performance into, I'm just hanging out with the chat and playing records.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that is where the beauty comes on, and people appreciate that, and I appreciate that. And I don't get the biggest numbers in the world on Twitch. I'm averaging about 25. That's my average. But like that's 25 people who've taken time to come and sit and watch
Exactly.
my
That's the
stream.
thing. Well, I
Any,
mean, it's the same here. We've got
it's
about that
brilliant.
in. We've got about that in here, sitting listening to two, completely different ends of the spectrum, but sitting to two geeks, talking about music or records or whatever. But these are all people in the chat who I consider friends now, and I think that's very interesting, and it is again a very interesting format, isn't it? Because like you say, you're speaking to people, but they're typing and then you're speaking. It's again a
Yeah.
very interesting concept, but it is great that people just drop in and have a chat, and that you switch your streaming stuff on, and within 5-10 minutes, whatever, someone from your community will come in, say hello, and that gives you that little buzz, doesn't it? It makes you feel good because you're like, oh, my mate's
And
in the chat.
it is genuinely special. And the thing is as well, it's very accessible. It's very open. Like all of these people in the chat, like they could be anywhere. They could be any kind of person. They could be disabled. They could be a single mum who's stuck in and hasn't got out of the house without her kids for a month. Do you know what I mean? They can't go raving. They can't go club. There could be anybody in there. And so like that's the beauty of it. And it is a wonderful thing when it comes together. Like a few months ago, there was a girl started popping up in my chat called Dariel.
Right.
And her name was Diane. Her real name was Diane. And funnily enough, she lived not that far from me, probably about 20 miles away from me. Like, and I'd never met her. She used to go and, and she had a lot of health problems and stuff, but she loved Twitch and she loved DJs on Twitch. And she used to be a mod she was a mod for me. She used to be a mod and a big part of the community of like Volatile and people like that, DJ P and all these kind of DJs. So she was a mod for loads of people. And it was a wonderful thing because she like clearly just got so much out of it. And then really sadly, she passed away. From I think COVID complications, but I think it was her dad passed away like around the same time, and it was horrendous for her family. They didn't have a big family, and it was absolutely horrendous. And so when we found that news out, because you don't really know these people in real life, you're not getting a phone call. But like we've eventually, because she sort of disappeared, and everyone kind of gradually did a bit of sleuthing on Facebook and worked out, and I spoke to one of her friends that I kind of saw posting on her page and stuff, and we realised that she'd passed away. And then so we ended up, I went to her funeral to represent the Twitch community, and just went, like just
It's amazing.
and just went, and Volatile's community all chipped in money to pay for flowers to go on her coffin.
Wow.
Like. That's real shit, man. Like that's the real shit right there. That is the kind of love that comes out of Twitch, and the fact that even though these people right here, they're behind their avatars and they're typing away, that's real shit, man. These are real people, and that for me is incredible, and I just love it. And I'll be honest, I've not really had much in the way of like negative comments and trolling and stuff like that, and I don't know if that's just luck or if it's just the kind of community that I encourage on my channel, but I've really not had much of that at all. And I know, and I don't think it would be right to take credit for that, because I think if you're female on Twitch, for example, if you are an underrepresented minority, for example, then you have a harder time with that kind of stuff. And I'm, a middle-aged white guy, so I don't really have those kind of issues. But like, I think in general, Twitch, the DJ side of Twitch is a friendly place, and it is about people who love music. And I don't think there's that many people who are just dickheads rocking up. Whereas I think perhaps in the gaming scene, you might see quite a bit more of that and everything. But I think in general, Twitch DJ world, and that might be a massive generalization. I might be wrong, but from what I've seen of it, it's a pretty healthy community.
I think so. I mean, I'm obviously, a little bit blinkered because obviously I'm seeing, I spend a lot of time listening to, watching other 45s DJs, vinyl DJs. I don't spend a lot of time in the sort of the digital DJ world. Occasionally, like I'm part of some raid event and there's digital DJ, so I don't know what it's like. For example, like the drum and bass scene or the house scene.
See, that's lovely. The drum and bass scene is amazing. They're very supportive of each other. It's incredible. I always thought drum and bass was quite competitive, but actually they're really nice. Like they're all really raiding each other and having a lovely time. So that was again one of the happy things for me.
This is one of the things we started talking about earlier, wasn't it? And it's the sharing, hosting. We started off talking about hosting. Obviously that's gone now, but it's such a thing. Host the channel, follow the channel, raid the channel, go and share this person. There's just doesn't seem to be any ego. Very little ego. I haven't come across anyone. There's one or two people, but on the whole, out of the hundreds and hundreds of DJs that I've interacted with over the last couple of years, there's very few that have been anything other than supportive, helpful. Wanting channels to build, wanting us all to sort of grow together, to get bigger. And there's something so positive about that you just can't, it'd be nice if you could bottle that and take it into other parts of your life, and say, right, take this. But I can't think of any other sort of thing in life where that sort of happens in the same way. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, maybe there is. I think that's our thing, and that's what but like that's one thing that DJ City and Beat Source, that's what we've always been about, is that community side of it, very much so. Like we do the DJ City link ups and stuff like that, where we just get DJs from all over the country just to come and hang out and watch some performances, or hear some talks or whatever. But it's just about networking and connecting with people. And I think most people in our scene are good people, and because if you're passionate about music, there's something in you that makes you a good person. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there are some people who are just in the DJ scene because they want to be famous, they want to be on a big stage, they want to make money, they want to get girls or men or whatever it is, right? But like, I think those who have a passion for music, that shows something about you. That means fundamentally you're a good person with a kind of open heart, and I think that is generally the case. Again, I might be wrong, but I'm sure that applies equally to the heavy metal scene, or I don't think it's exclusive to us, but I think it's very much music and that creative side of things. There's always going to be knobs in every community out there, but in general, I think people are just, if you're passionate about music, that says something about you. Yeah, don't trust people that don't like music. Thank you. Yeah, I totally.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because especially if people ask you as a DJ or whatever you do, what sort of music are you in? It's always like, oh, okay, well, I like funk, hip hop, reggae, Latin, whatever. But it doesn't really explain what we do, and it doesn't really explain the sort of music we're into, because they've got this view of whatever funk and hip hop or whatever it is. But yeah, it's been amazing. So tell us a little bit about DJ City then. So how did you first get involved in that?
Well, I'd started making, because I went and did that mature student degree when I was in my late 20s, and I came out of that and ended up just DJing full time. But I did media production at uni, so I'd learned a little bit about making videos and using Final Cut and stuff like that.
Right.
And then I started making, when I got to the point where my daughter was born and she was sort of 2, and I was like, I was working 4 nights a week for Vodka Revolution, 2 different vodka revs in the area, it was good, but I was like, hardcore. I've got no contract here. If I fall out with the area manager, I'm basically unemployed. That's not a good position to be in overnight, So it's I need something a bit more reliable. Let me go back to this video stuff, and I'd been inspired by digital DJ tips and DJ tech tools. Started making videos on my own channel in my garage, and then I started doing freelancing for DJ Tech Tools, and I'd done that for a while. And then DJ City, weirdly enough, DJ City UK, the music pool, the UK operation was run by DJ Play, who is a Newcastle-based DJ, and or was at the time, and he's born and raised in Newcastle, and he kind of put me in touch. One of their guys came over from LA. It's oh yeah, Styles wants to take you out for dinner. I was like, oh yeah, what's up with this then? And he came, and he's basically look, you can carry on making videos in your garage. And that was a massive pain in the arse, because I had to move everything out and then film and then move it all back in again. It was a nightmare. Okay. And then you say you can do that, or we've got an office in Newcastle. You can come and film them there. I was like, yeah, all right, let's go. Sign me up. And that was it. And then just being a part of that company, I mean, it's always been an inspiring company to work for in every way. The people there are just kind of on it all the time, really focused, they motivate me to work harder because they work so hard. And then, so that was a brilliant relationship. DJ City, went full time with them over time. It just built up to being a full-time job. And then obviously a couple of years ago, I think it was 2019, we started talking about Beat Source and this new streaming service. And Beat Source is basically it's the same team behind DJ City and Beatport. and we have made this open format streaming service for DJs. So it's Beatport is still doing the electronic side of things, your techno, your tech house, and all that kind of drum and bass and all that kind of stuff. But we are doing streaming for DJs, and so that is now become the focus. Like DJ City is still going, still a really valuable service for like your club working DJs. That's still a very useful thing, and people still use that. But like Beat Source is the future. Like fundamentally, as much as I love the little records, like streaming is the future. My kids don't know about vinyl. Yours do, but mine don't know about the vinyl. They play music from Spotify on the iPad or on their Amazon Alexa. So like this is where streaming is going to be a big part of our future, and we think we're building the best streaming service. Simple as that. Like that's what we're doing. So it's nice to be a part of something, because DJ City was long established by the time I came along, and it was great to be a part of that. But Beat Source, I've been there since day one of Beat Source basically, and it's great to be a part of that team and building up this thing and making it and seeing people come round to this idea of streaming. I mean, the thing was for me, it didn't really start until kind of mid 2020, like the Beatport and the Beat Source streaming kind of began.
Yeah.
And I'd been at the start of the pandemic, I was spending about sort of 30 to 40 quid a week on Beatport to buy all this new progressive house, because I was really about, I want to play brand new stuff. I play a couple of classics each show, but generally it's all brand new release music. And I wasn't getting sent a lot of that stuff then on promo. I was, so I was going to Beatport and spending 30, 40 quid a week on records on MP3s for this show. And then as soon as Beatport Link came along, I was like, I'll get on my progressive house on there now and just play on the streaming, and then boom, done. I can have all the new music I want. So I did almost 2 years of weekly shows with all new music every single week, brand new tracks, every single track, a brand new release that's just come out in the past 7 days. And it's all just done from Beatport Link. And then Beat Source is more what I use for my gigs, because we've got the more open format. We've got the classics. We've got the old, funk, soul, disco, country now as well. And so like, that's where it just comes alive for me. And so, I had my doubts. Like in the beginning, I can't lie, I had my doubts. I was like, really, is this going to be a thing? Is this going to work? But now I rely on it all the time. I use it constantly.
I mean, it is a strange one, because so I did tractor DJ, and I've done vinyl. I was also for a little while on the iPad on DJ Pro, and you could stream with Spotify. So basically, you could protect. So that was a little bit before, slightly different, obviously, because you haven't got all the the new records and all the rest of it. But even then, it was quite liberating to be able to just play pretty much whatever you wanted, as long as you had a Wi-Fi connection. You can play whatever was on Spotify, which was fine for a sort of gig in pub DJ or wherever. But the fact that now that can be transferred into a full, club DJ, stage DJ or whatever is pretty amazing. And we are living our lives streaming constantly. We're streaming music, we're streaming on TV, we're doing this. You listen to that.
Like when was the last time you bought a DVD? Do you know what I mean?
I'm trying to get rid of them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. But
so it's one of those.
Why would you?
Yeah. And I'm not, and it doesn't have to be the be all and end all. This is what I always come back to with it. It's not everything, right? I've got stuff in my library that will never be on any streaming service ever, because it's a bootleg, it's unreleased, it's this, it's my version, it's my edit that I've done, it's this and that, right? We've all got our stuff, or it's a promo that I've been sent, because I do get sent a lot of stuff. Blessed these days to get loads of promos each week, and there's stuff that hasn't come out yet, which won't be on a streaming service. So obviously, it's not the be all and end all, but it is a massively powerful tool to have at your disposal. Like I did a wedding. I haven't done a wedding for like 25 years, and I did a friend's wedding this summer, and I had my crates all prepared in Serato. Everything was cool. I was like, I've got this. I'm ready. But I was logged into Beat Source just in case, because I was like, just in case. I had stuff in my offline locker, but I was like logged in. I got on the Wi-Fi in this hotel, and one of the relatives comes up around halfway through, and she says, "If you've got erasure,
just a little,
what is it? Respect?
Yeah.
No,
That's a classic.
respect.
People always ask for that.
She's like, "Have you got erasure?" And I didn't have it. But we did have it on Beat Source, of course. So and I just thought, you know what? Let's. No one's asked me for that, I think, ever in my career. But you know what? I'll get it for her, because she's clearly a relative, and I'll get it for her, and we'll play that. We'll just see how it goes. It smashed up the dance, biggest tune of the night, at this wedding. Absolute biggest tune of the night.
It does.
And now it never leaves my crates. Do you know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
before, if I'd have wanted, I either wouldn't have bothered, or I would have had to log in to iTunes, download it, and then drag it in my Serato and do all this faffing about. Whereas as it was, I just searched for it on BeatSource, loaded it to the deck, and off I go. And so it's that convenience factor. And yeah, so I would not say that those who are doubtful about streaming, it's not about everything. It's not about replacing your entire library. I still play 45 sets and I enjoy playing 45s. You know, it's not one or the other, but as an additional tool, as part of your toolbox as a DJ, it's a wonderful thing to have access to basically all the music all of the time.
Yeah.
It's just, that is a bit overwhelming sometimes, and you need that curation. So that's why, most of what we do is about the playlists. It's about our team putting these playlists together. Like we've just added country as a genre, which you can't get country on all the DJ pools and stuff. And obviously it's not that important to us in the UK, but like
America,
I was digging, I did a whole stream the other night just playing country, because we've got this guy Nate Nelson does our country playlist, and I was like, this guy knows his country, so I'm gonna just go into his playlist and I'm gonna play some of that stuff. And I had a brilliant time. I discovered there's one track that I've been hunting for the 45 ever since, like, because I need this country record in my life. Do you know what I mean? So that's for me, it's about discovering new stuff all the time. I love it, man. But discovering new music is what I live for.
Yeah, and that's what I love about what we do and what I do, because the whole thing with 45 Day is I get DJs from around the world to put together sets, and a lot of it I've never heard before. And I think that this last recent bit, we've had a couple of country music mixes, and I've never been a massive fan of it, but I'm listening to them and I'm like, actually, this is pretty good, and it's having the right music. You can't dismiss a whole genre, you can't dismiss a whole, type of music or whatever. But it takes the curation, like you're saying, in this case, like a manual DJ who plays this stuff, knows what works, knows what's good, to play it. And you think, actually, that is a really good, that's something that could fit in with something I'm doing, which is brilliant. And like you say, always searching for new music and finding it is amazing.
Yeah, and when I say new music, obviously I'm not saying
old
new music, or it's old or new. Just stuff I haven't heard, stuff
new
that
to us,
new to me. That's all I'm about, is just discovering new sounds, and I love that. That's what I live for. That's why I've been a DJ my whole life, because I just live for discovering new music all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And you do play 45 sets. You played one the other night, and you were saying that one of the difficulties you have playing 45 sets on streaming is because you have to use monitors, and you've got these new in-ear monitors you've been testing. How's that been going?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I've always been, my whole career, I've been a one monitor, one headphone. That's mixing like that. That's always been the way. I've never done mixing in the headphones. When the pandemic started, obviously we were stuck in our houses, and I was DJing at like 10 p.m. UK time, because I was trying to catch the Americans. So I was not starting till 10, and I had to do it all in the headphones, and it was fine on digital, because you've either got your waveforms, your BPMs, and you've got your sync button, which eventually at the beginning I was like, I don't want to be like seen to be syncing. These days I couldn't give a shit. Sync all day. Sync.
If it helps, who cares? It's about the music, isn't it?
I love it. It helps me be more creative as a DJ. So whatever. I sync all day, right? And I was like properly hiding. I was covering up the sync button with black tape on the players, like trying to pretend that it was bad, man. Just own it, man. So now I own it these days. I'm sync. But then when I was trying to do 45s, having never mixed in the headphones, it was impossible. It was actually impossible. But then what's happened over the past couple of years, I've become more open to the idea of in-ear monitors, because like one of my places I play like monthly, they don't have a monitor. So my option is I either take a monitor with me. I do have a monitor, but like take that with me, or I learned to mix in the headphones at that gig as well. And so it's like, I've been learning to do it, and I've gone from doing it in headphones to actually doing in-ear monitors. And so that's why I'm now testing a bunch of in-ear monitors. I've got like two pairs from Mackie, like $200, $400, two pairs from Shure at like 100 and 500. And then I've got some full-on over $1,000 custom ultimate ears, which are like custom molded. I went to the audiologist and had the molds done and all that stuff. So like but I'm learning to do it, and it's taken me a while. But I'm training myself now to do 45s in the headphones. It is a challenge because the S9, the S11 don't have split Q, which makes things harder because you can't replicate that one ear, other ear scenario. Like I did a set on a 900 Nexus 2 the other week playing 45s, and that was much easier because I could easily just switch to split Q and then switch back again very quickly, and I had the options there. And I see why Coco, DJ Coco, obviously from Japan, he insists on a 900.
Yeah.
He won't play on an S9 or an S11 because the queuing for him is much quicker to hit those buttons, 1 2 1 2, because he does a lot of that. He doesn't mix in the headphones, but he's very quickly swapping channels. Whereas you've got to do that little joystick thing. It's like it's a bit of a faff,
takes a bit of getting
or
used
turning
to,
the knob and all this kind of So in a way, I might end up. I don't want to, but I might end up switching to more of a kind of club style mixer because of that very quick switching. James Hype in the house scene is one of the biggest proponents of in-ear monitors, and he is doing. You can see him doing it very quickly. That quick switch, which you just can't quite do on the S9 and the S11, which is because otherwise I love those mixers. They're my favourite mixers to use by a country mile. But yeah, that's the only thing that kind of lets them down.
Yeah, I mean, I mix in my headphone, but sometimes I forget that it's not on master and it's on Q. And
so your levels are off because you're hearing it twice and stuff like this. So it's just a thing of training yourself. I do believe that anyone can learn to do it in the headphones with enough patience and with just trying. Like, it's taken me a long time to do it, but I'm now, like, my residencies, I'm doing 45s with all in, in these in-ear monitors, and I'm managing it. I'm doing it on streams a bit more now, and it's just, I don't think I'm quite as good. But on the other hand, because you're hearing so much better, like, we've all played at plenty of gigs where we've had a really terrible monitor, where it's like screeching at you, or you can barely hear it, or whatever else. I can now hear all of these little nuances going on with my blend, which I wouldn't have heard before. So I might have been doing just as bad blends, but like not realizing it because I couldn't hear it all that well. But now my blends, I'm perhaps better because I can actually hear them better. I can hear what's going on more. So actually, my blends are probably better than they were before. So I'm just kind of learning. It's like anything else. You've got to train yourself to do stuff. But overall, the advantages, I think, in terms of your ear health and keeping your hearing safe, because you don't need it so loud, and like, if people, it's also like having earplugs. So if people are shouting requests in your ear, you've got those in, and it's not quite so loud for you and stuff. Because I swear that's how most of my hearing damage has been done. Not through DJing, but through people coming up to me and going, "Can you play this? Right in your ear, like a can you play this?" Like, that was bad enough pre-COVID, but these days I'm not having it. Get away, step back, take a step back, show me, write it on your phone.
It's
it's one of those.
Definitely. Well, I'm definitely interested to find out. I'm not sure I'm ready to go for the custom $1,100 ones, but I'm certainly some of the other ones that we'll be testing out. I'll find out.
I think the thing is with the customs is that they are incredibly comfortable. That's the thing. Like, you don't even know they're in because they are a perfect fit for your ears, and it's like, I don't think you have to spend quite that much to get customs, and I don't think most people probably should spend that much money on headphones, but like, I think customs might be the way to go for a lot of people. We'll see. I'm doing a few more weeks of testing, and then probably around Christmas time we'll start doing the videos, do a whole series about them, and I'm just trying to sell people on the idea of trying it, because my whole thing was, there's this whole lot of chi-fi, they call it, these cheap Chinese brands like KZ and stuff that you find on Amazon, and you can get a reasonable pair of in-ear monitors for like 20 quid from a brand like that. And I got one set off AliExpress for like £2.50, like, as a first buyer offer kind of job, So like, you can just try the whole thing out for basically nothing, like, for hardly anything, and give it a try. And if you don't like the idea, you've just wasted 20 quid, which is not the end of the world. It's less than 145 a lot of the time now.
Well,
and so, like, that's what I would suggest to anyone, is just get a cheap pair of KZs or whatever from Amazon, try them out, and if you like the idea, then you can move on and get some better ones.
Perfect. One of the 45s you did play the night, which I played to Ziza, because she plays I Like to Move It, the 45, quite a lot. It's one of her favourite songs. But you played like a Jamaican or a white label or something. Which is
it's like
great.
a Scar bootleg. I don't know what it is. I'm afraid. It's got I Like to Move It written on in biro. That's all it is. It's all it is. I don't know where that came from. I can't remember now.
It's,
there was a whole thing. Like, do you remember that whole like scene Must have been like around kind of 2012, that kind of era when it was all like Shepdog and all those guys, and it was just bare
Yeah.
reggae hip hop bootlegs.
Yeah.
It was just such a massive thing for the longest time, wasn't it? And like
Yeah.
there were some terrible ones, to be fair, but there were some absolute genius ones as well
Some really
that
good
came
ones,
out at that
yeah.
time.
And
There's
there's
some
a lot
stuff
of
that I still play to this
there's a lot
day.
of exactly. There's a lot of J Star stuff.
J Star, yeah, that's the
I
other
still
name that I was
play.
trying to think of. I
He
couldn't
does
think.
quite a
Yeah,
lot, and there's more recent stuff like Little Big More will do stuff on their label and stuff. But nowadays it is a lot. It is hit and miss. You know, you think, oh, okay, and then you like listen to it a second time. You're like, actually, no, that doesn't quite work.
yeah.
For that's the thing. Right, a couple more things. Where do you think Twitch and the DJing thing is going to go? Obviously, they're leaving us alone at the moment, and hopefully they will leave us alone to stream. You know, is it just going to be more and more DJs, more of the same, or do you think things will start evolving into something else?
No, I think we've pretty much settled on it now. I think this is where we're going to be at. I think the obviously the big rush in the pandemic has disappeared. That's long gone now. But now what we have is the hardcore. We have those who really enjoy it, and those who get pleasure out of watching and listening. And I think it's just settled into what it's going to be from now on. To be honest, I can't see any big innovations coming. In terms of what people, the Raid Train thing is fantastic. I'm on the Soul Train tomorrow.
Yeah.
I sort of do that once a month. I'm on that one. I do the Intergalactic Raid with Steve Disco Newsom and his gang, once a month as well. There was a time when I was doing like, 2 Raid Trains a week, and it was like a bit much. It was just like because it was too much stress. But like now, yeah, I do a few Raid Trains. But I think the Raid Train thing, every day there's a raid train of some description going on, and that's fantastic.
Tons of them. Yeah, there's tons
You
of
get
them,
you get to explore new DJs and enjoy that, and go around the world on a whole trip with all these DJs. I love that, and so as long as that functionality stays and the raids still continue, I think that's just what we're going to do, because that's how the community responds and how it works the best.
Yeah.
You get that variety, you get to share, you get to bring on new people that are trying to grow their audience and stuff.
Yeah.
That's always really nice. And I think that's the spirit of what DJing in Twitch will remain. I honestly, there won't be any big breakout stars in the DJ scene, I don't think, because from Twitch, like, I don't think there'll be another Four Color Zach or Scratch Bastard, coming through doing thousands of viewers and stuff. I think that's gone.
Sort of big, they were sort of big before that, weren't they? That's the thing. I mean, the DJs.
Well, yeah, they were, but like
massive.
they took Twitch to a different level in a lot of ways, and they still do. Like Scratch Bastard still, his coffee morning stuff is like crazy good. But like I think it's settled down where it is the hardcore, it is those who enjoy it, and there's enough viewers to go around. And
Definitely.
I just think it's just another platform now for DJs to be out there. So honestly, like, that's not me being negative. I'm not, I think that's great. I'm very happy with where Twitch is at for DJs. I'm perfectly happy with where it is, because the community is here. There's not too many dickheads, and it's just a nice lot of DJs, and all these little sub-genres are doing their own thing. And, you get the big events still sometimes, you get like big festival streams, or like Beatport will do stuff or whatever. But on the whole, it's just real DJs. When I say real DJs, I'm not talking about vinyl I'm just talking about people who are into it for the music and enjoying it and sharing music. They're out here making a few bucks here and there, and like, just that's, for me, that's beautiful. It's still beautiful. Love it.
It is interesting, however, isn't it? And I think I can't remember if it was before we started the show or not, that, although we're saying, okay, Scratch Bastard's still got like 1,000 people, 1,000 that, it's still nowhere near the chat or the gamers. You switch it on, and the front page, someone talking about, I don't know, whatever, nonsense or whatever, and they've got like 3,000, 4,000, and you're just like, what? What's going on? But
that's because DJing is quite niche, mate.
It is niche. It is niche.
People always forget this. People think like DJing, because we love DJing and we love music.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, we think that DJing is a massive thing because it's a massive part of our lives. It's really not. Like,
No.
I don't ride a bike anymore, but I follow a lot of I'm really into like slope style mountain biking and stuff. I like to watch a lot of that. Those guys get mad numbers on their videos, like DJ, stuff that most DJs would only dream of. Absolutely. All of these other aspects of the world are just so much bigger than DJing. Like, I remember going to the NAMM trade show in LA at the start of 2020, before the pandemic, and I went, and there's like the NAMM show is massive. It's hall upon hall of like bass guitars and guitar picks and pianos and all this cables and all this kind of stuff. And then there's the DJ corner, and it's literally like the DJ corner. It's like 50 square feet of DJ stuff, and it's like even in the music industry, we are nothing. We are nothing. And so that's why our community is actually so strong, because it's actually quite a small community. It's not that big. There aren't that many DJs in the world. And so, there are lots more people go to clubs and enjoy listening to DJs than there are actual DJs. And that's how it should be, But like it's just that gaming will always be bigger. People just sitting around talking nonsense and reacting to YouTube videos will always be bigger. Than DJing, because DJing's just kind of a niche thing, really. It's not that big in the world.
And like you say, we do forget it. We do forget that sometimes.
Yeah. Because it's all consuming for us. It is all we, it's all we think about, right? And so,
exactly. You wake up, you're thinking, especially during the pandemic when, Twitch was on pretty much 24/7. It's not quite the same now, but, I remember, you'd just be sat there and just watching it constantly, and it was your life for a while.
Yeah.
Right, a couple more things, and then I'll let you go. I know you're a busy man as well. Obviously, you've got loads of toys. What is your current thing that you're collecting at the moment? Or what's the most recent sort of purchase in terms of toys?
I've stopped actually because it got to the point, and I started collecting the He-Man stuff. They bought out these.
I was going to say that the Master of the Universe stuff, wasn't it? You were buying.
They bought out these Masters of the Universe Origins figures, which are like.
I'll try and get you on,
they're like I can never point at the camera properly. They bought out these figures which are like the old 80s figures.
Yeah,
and they're on the same card backs, and they've got the same bubbles and all this kind of stuff, right? And they bought all those out, and so I was picking them. They're like 15 quid each. Get them at Smith's Toys for a while, and so I started collecting all of those. But then I bought 2 IKEA Billy bookcases to put them on, and I filled them up. And I've actually just got to the point where I've just stopped now because I've run out of space. And I've still got this is all my childhood He-Man behind me there. And my childhood G.I. Joe stuff is in there, and I've got Mask, and it's just nostalgia stuff. I don't buy any of this modern, fancy McFarlane toys or Hot Toys or any of that stuff. It's just nostalgia for me purely, and I just love it. Like, it just takes me back to being a kid. Like, I've got He-Man and Brave Star posters up on the wall, and stuff like that. I really enjoy it, and Star Wars stuff. I've got all my old Star Wars figures from when I was a kid and all this kind of stuff. So, in general, there was a big period where I want that DJ Yoda He-Man figure, but it's like 100 quid. Like, I was hanging out with Yoda when he came up here the other week, and I might have to message him and ask him if I can get one cheap, because it's like I'm not paying 100 quid for it. But like, so I just like being surrounded. It just makes me feel like I'm in a toy shop when I was 8. Do you know what I mean? I love it. Yeah. And so so I'm more into the carded stuff now. But I have a limit on what I'll spend. I'm not. I'm not one of these people out here spending like loads of money on vintage figures and stuff. I'll buy the new reissues that are like 15 quid. That's where I'm at. Really. But I really enjoy it. And my son's like so frustrated. He's like, yeah, when you die, I'm going to open all them figures up. And I'm like, yeah, but hopefully by the time I die, you're going to be too old to care, mate. I hope. But we'll see. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess it depends what he does with them. As long as he uses them or plays with them or whatever, then that's fine. It's the same with records.
Don't open my toys. He's got his own toys. He can open those. He's not opening my toys.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hopefully, by the time I die, they'll actually be antiques, and he can just sell them all and make the money back. That's the idea.
Yeah, exactly. Like some of these records might be worth a lot of money by then. That's fine. Right. Let's move on to the last part of the show. And during the first show I did of this, which is some time ago now, but we had Double P and Mr. Musto on. They've both been in the chat. Mark Lancaster asked what 45s lift people's spirits. So we've done it ever since. I asked my guests to pick 3 45s, and I've also done a sort of follow-on. We've got a 45-day uplifting mix series. We've got almost 50 mixes of people doing 45-minute mixes of that. So obviously you're a 45s guy. What 3 45s have you chosen, and why have you chosen them? And I'm just going to say hello to S the DJ, because he's on tomorrow night on All Back to Mine. So
he's also on the Soul Train with me tomorrow as well. So big up S the DJ. Yeah, big legend in the game. Okay, right. I picked 3. Right, first one is this could have been any one of 1,000 records in my crates. This was
Okay.
just one of the ones that was near the front because I am a party rocker. I like to rock a party, and this is a record that rocks a party. It is Cheryl Lynn, "Got to Be Real,"
Yes.
because
Yes.
you know it's not my favorite record in the world, but like it rocks a party, and I love to rock a party. That's what brings me joy, is rocking a party. So that
Yeah.
one, yeah, all day long. I think I got that twice. I got the first one I got was Styrene, and then this one, it like the cover, it's in Spanish, and I was hoping
Okay.
almost that it was like, you know, when the Beatles used to re-sing their stuff in German. I was
Yeah.
hoping it might have been like Cheryl Lynn did like a Spanish
Span-
version of "Got to Be Real," but it wasn't. It's just the original track with a Spanish cover. So, but that one, yeah, timeless, and that's the long version on there as well. I think it's like, yeah, pretty long. But yeah, love that record, and that sums me up as a DJ. I'm a party rocker. That's a record. It could have been, you know, any number of records that would also fit that, bucket. Second one, because I am about new music as well as old music. And funnily enough, been talking about Double A lot on here. It is the new one on Friday's Funky 45s
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Double A. Strumming My Pain, Fugees on the one side. So Sorry on the flip, which is Miss Jackson, Outcast. I play both sides of that at every gig right now. It is fire. It is a Double A is the bomb. He's the absolute bomb, and that is a brilliant record. Everyone should buy that record without fail.
We had
And
it. Yeah,
you know,
he was on last week, last Tuesday, and he played so much unreleased stuff, and every track was like, wow, this is amazing. You know, this is so
Yeah.
good. You know, but yeah, he's
So
an
yeah,
amazing.
that
super
that
producer.
that represents me in terms of what brings me joy when I find new stuff that I've never, that is
Yeah, yeah.
brand new, and it's like there's still great new music being released all the time. Love that one, and then finally this one brings me joy because this is no one else has got this. This is mine. This is mine.
I like to move it, move it.
This is mine.
Ah, yes, I've heard you play that on a stream. I think definitely. All,
The Maccabee dub.
Yeah,
Never played a 45.
yeah.
When you are playing against Mojaxx, you better play properly. If your sound not stable, yeah. So that's my Maccabee dub plate, which I played at the Red Bull 3 style. They did a boat party going along the river in Poland, and I was playing in front of like Jazzy Jeff and Flip Out and all these, and DJ Puffy and all these amazing DJs, and I opened my set with that. And yeah, there's just it's amazing to have I like the whole kind of Jamaican dub plate culture, kind of stuff. I love the whole thing of like the sound clash and all that kind of thing is amazing. It's a superb, cultural thing. But like, yeah, so I've got a few, only really two proper dubs. I've got that one, and I've got, I managed to get Beanie Man, Who Am I? I've got a dub plate of that as well. That was quite expensive. But like, I mean, this one wasn't cheap, but like that one was very expensive. But that's worth having,
And just so we know,
Yeah,
obviously dub plates tend to be people pressing slightly different versions. So did you approach them and get them to record a specific version, and obviously pay for that, and then you get it carved or you get it pressed or wherever?
Yeah, and they send it to you as you get it cut or tied. So basically, you get it. Often it will be one file, and the left side will be the instrumental, and the right side will be the vocal. So you've got the acapella yourself
Okay.
that you can then kind of tweak and kind of
Re-edit.
remaster that put it
Yeah.
together and everything else. So yeah, that's and it's just a really established thing in that reggae
Nice.
sound clash kind of scene. And so it's generally reggae artists that will do it. But it does generally cost quite a lot of money, and there's a lot of shady characters. I mean, that's the thing. Like a lot of time, because you can't do it by PayPal. Do you know what I mean? You have to send like money via Western Union to some guy in Jamaica. Like hope that you're going to get your dub, and it's not going to be like a fake dub where someone's like pretending to be Sean Paul or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite a shady business, and it's not something I'd want to be involved with too much. But like those two, I had the opportunity to do those. Then it was worth doing. And like I've heard some incredible dubs, especially in like the Red Bull 3 styles. That can be a defining moment of a set, is when someone drops a dub plate of a really well-known record, and it just will completely energize their set in a different way. And like for me, that's just it's like a calling card. I've got these unique records that are just mine, and no one else has got them.
Exactly. No one else has got
you
them.
know.
And it comes back to sort of what we were saying about sort of buying records off Juno or buying off, whatever's regular. If you're buying stuff that's readily available, then other people are going to have it. And it's quite nice in a way, because a lot of the 45s events that we've done and put on, obviously on a completely different scale to what you were talking about. There's some records that people have got, but not many. You all pack your bag knowing that you've got to try and have stuff that other DJs haven't got with them, and that's brings a certain skill and a certain fun
That's
to
where
it.
I kind of miss. I don't do a lot of gigs with other people, or I haven't done probably since the start of the pandemic. Really, I've mainly just DJ by myself, and that's fine because then I can pull all of those, the new hip hop bootlegs from Juno. I can put all them in the crate, and I know there's no one else there going to
No
play
one
them because
else,
it's
yeah.
just me playing. But like when you are playing with other people, and that's the joy of it, is when you're trying to one up other people with stuff that you've dug that's
Yeah.
really obscure, or like dub plates or whatever else. Like that's one of the beauties of playing with other people. I love it, and I do want to do more of that in the sort of 2023. I want to get back to just jamming with people a little bit more and sharing that, because that's when you really have to pull. Even in the digital space, doesn't matter about 45s or whatever. You're always, when you're playing with other DJs, you're trying to one up each other in a very kind of friendly competition kind of way. And
Yeah.
I love that. I love that energy.
It's just fun, isn't it? And it's only the events we've done is nice. It's seeing, bizarrely, a load of middle-aged men sort of leaning over the decks trying to see what you're playing.
That's what you're aiming for at the end of the day. That's the goal of doing it, right? Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like a lot of these, I was so proud of getting a lot of these Jamaican bootleg 45s for a long time.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them I had, and a lot of them now I've now got, like Foxy Brown. What's that reggae one? Mister.
I think I know.
I
Yeah,
can't
I know
remember what it's called now. I'm blanking. You
know
know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Like I got that on a Jamaican bootleg, and that was like brilliant. Got that. No one else has got that. Now it was available on Juno a few months back, and now everyone's got a copy. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's a shame, but at the same time, I'm going to buy that copy because it's a much better pressing, and I'm going to play that one from now on. Do you know what I mean? So this is the swings and roundabouts of collecting like that. Sometimes you get that rare stuff, and then someone will repress it, and it's like, oh well, now everyone's got it. But that's the game, right? Do you know what I mean?
I know.
You had it for a while first, so as long as you played it first, you were all right. It's all good.
Yeah. Exactly. Right, I'm just going to set the raid. We're going to jump onto one of the raid events that I'm playing actually on at 11 o'clock is Slow Mo Monday, where we play 45s at 33, which is very niche, even more niche than what we're talking
I
about.
was not aware of this. That's hella niche.
Well,
I'm very excited about this.
Depends how you play it. Yeah, if you're still awake, tune in at 11. I've got some interesting stuff to play. We play Slow Mo Mondays. It's been going on quite long. Do you know Don Champ Sound? Have you heard of Don Champ Sound?
This has completely passed me by, this one.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah.
Oh my God. Right, I'm all about this.
Interesting fun. So we're going to join in. DJ Nails is currently on before me, so we'll raid into him. And then obviously they'll raid back into me. But let me set the raid. Hopefully that's going. I don't know.
Big up Paul Sitter, by the way. Mad dope producer. Super sick. He's somebody I don't mind paying a bit more for his records because they have to come from a long way away, and there aren't that many copies. So yeah, that you don't object. That's when you don't mind paying the prices.
I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Actually, we've got a little group going where we get them through. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Nice.
But thank you, Chris Mojaxx. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Lots
really
of interesting stories. Great inspirational stuff, and we've talked about 45s and all the rest of it. What have you got coming up next? So when's your Soul Train tomorrow? Have you got anything else coming up?
Soul Train tomorrow. I'm on at 12 o'clock. That's all really. Just everything. All my stuff is DJ City TV on YouTube. Beat Source Tech is the series. Just watch me on there. There's a new video coming. This week's episode is about a new Autophon cartridge that costs £350.
Wow.
Each. So enjoy that one.
Yeah. Let's see how many they sell of those.
Yeah. Oh, they'll sell plenty of them. Don't worry. Yeah. Crazy world we live in.
I know. But it's been fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. Join the raid, and we'll back tomorrow night, all back to mine with DJS. And then we've got some other stuff going on later this week. But thanks so much, and take it easy.
Peace.